He is mighty in all of his ways.
He's our God.
He is the King of kings and the Lord of lords.
He's our God.
How great
He's our God.
How great is our God.
He's our God.
How great is our God.
He's our God.
Hallelujah. You have won the victory. Hallelujah. You have won it all for me. Death could not hold you down. You are
You are the risen King,
seated in majesty.
seated in majesty.
You
are the risen King. Hallelujah. You worthy Jesus. You worthy Jesus.
You're worthy, Jesus.
You worthy Jesus.
You're worthy,
You're so
Jesus.
worthy Jesus.
You're worthy,
We
Jesus.
bless you Jesus.
You're worthy,
We
Jesus.
bless you Jesus. Hallelujah Jesus. Hallelujah Jesus.
In all of your
Thank you
ways,
Jesus.
you're worthy.
Thank you Jesus.
You're worthy,
Thank you
Jesus.
Jesus.
You're
Thank you Jesus. Yes, Lord.
He has won.
Morning, good morning, good morning. We want to tell you welcome again to the Vine Church. It's our privilege, it's our honor to be able to come into your homes, to be able to worship with you on today. It is a wonderful day in the Lord's house. How about y'all? What do y'all feel about today? Y'all excited about this? Y'all excited about this?
We're excited. We're excited.
Great. Listen, I want you to take this moment, just wherever you are viewing right now, just to share. Please share this. I want you to tag someone. I want you to tag someone, and make sure that they are viewing on today. I want to introduce to you some wonderful people that we have here at the Vine Church that I am privileged to serve with. Right beside me, we have Sister Reteki Hicks. Everybody tell her hello.
Hello.
And beside her, we have the fragrance of the house, my wonderful bride, our leading lady, Precious Scott. And beside her, we have a wonderful young lady that came to us not too long ago, and I'm excited about her life. I'm excited about her ministry. Can you help us welcome Sister Micaiah Sanders? So wherever you are today, again, I'm just going to give you a few more minutes to share, and help us to get this message out. Those of you who are on my cameras, make sure we're following as well, just as they are on the big ones, in Jesus' name. Listen, those of you who are out there today, we're going to have a candid conversation. This is concerning our COVID-19 pandemic that we are looking and confronting with today. We have many personalities here on the stage, but also we have different perspectives. And we're going to get started right away because we don't want you to tune out. We want you to stay tuned in to what we're going to discuss today. And as we're going through this, I want you, those of you who are viewing today, to begin to write some questions down. Write those questions down because at the end, we're going to give you a moment. We're going to give you an opportunity to actually ask some of those questions. And if you're going to ask the questions, we want to be hospitable enough to answer some of those questions for you on today. All right. So listen, I know most of you by now, there's parents out there, there's those that are dealing with the switch from your children not being at school to them now being right there in your house. They are looking and viewing and trying to figure out, mommy, daddy, what's next? How am I going to make it through this pandemic? Because this is all new for all of us, so we're not used to this. But I'm going to ask our leading lady, what right now, what does that look like? I know I'm your husband. What does that look like in our house? What does that look like right now for us?
In our house right now, it looks like it's pretty much chaos. We're just honestly taking day by day. I had first beginning, I wanted to have a set schedule, for the children, to try to keep them on a routine and try to keep them on some stability. But the more as the weeks went along, my cousin Mickey Payne had reminded me, sometimes it's not about staying on a schedule, but sometimes it's implementing to them everyday essentials, which means everyday life.
Right.
Getting up every morning and not typically of getting on the computer and spending 2 and 3 hours of doing your work, but honestly getting up, brushing your teeth, taking a bath. I was having to remind them, like, we're not going anywhere, but you got to take a shower today,
Got to.
Yeah. And so those are the essentials of life. So therefore the schedule has kind of went out of the window, and we're taking it day by day. But I'm implementing as a mom, I'm implementing not to be so hard on myself, because I love structure, I love a schedule, but trying not to be so hard on myself, but teach my children the value of getting up, brushing your teeth, teaching my girls the value of when you use a dish, wash your plate,
Yes.
And it's so funny that you said that first, because I was thinking about my son. I was trying to keep a routine as well. And my son, he said, but Mom, we don't sit in the same class all day. And it made me think. I was like, okay, Caleb, you're right, because you do have music. You do have art. So it caused me to have to be creative and figure out different ways. Like, okay, yes, you can go outside and play for a little bit. Don't play with the other kids, but you can go play a little bit. So I definitely understand how we have to change the structure for their sanity, really. Yeah, we're creative.
Yes. So I find that interesting because here now the children don't know what's going on. They don't understand the fact that we are demanded to stay in. They want to go out. They want to still play with their friends. How has it looked also for you, First Lady? What does that look like with the kids?
Well, we shared with our children exactly what was going on. And the reason why we did is because it's not that we want to fear them, but we want them to understand what's going on in the everyday world. That reason why you can't go out, or if we got to run out, you must wear your mask. You must keep your hands to yourself. And I can remember when all of this happened and the schools were shut down, it was like weeks before Chloe's birthday, our middle daughter. And she broke down. We were eating dinner, and she broke down at the dinner table.
Right.
And, I was kind of confused. I don't know if C2 had took her food from her or what had happened. And I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, Mom, I'm not going to be able to have a birthday party. And Paris and C2 both had birthday party. And the church came and Nana came. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, we actually was able to plan a party for them. But she was thinking the fact that she couldn't have a party. And immediately, I broke down too. I started crying because, that hit home. But that goes to say that the children, they understand what's going on. They understand the value of it. I know I had even asked Paris, how do you feel with everything? And she was saying that she was sad about it, but she was also glad because she didn't have to worry about SOL testing in school, because that's so much pressure for her. Like, pressure as a child. She's 10, but she struggles with the ability to being able to read and then understand what she's reading, and being stressed for time, the testing being timed. So that being taken away from her, she thought that was a great thing, but she missed her friends. But they all been sad because they see on the news, they hear Dad and I talking about it, that so many people are dying from this. And we've gotten down to where, Pastor, we've shut our TV down. We don't even watch TV during the day. It's like, okay, TV goes out the window if we're not going to do a family movie or watch something that's pertaining to something that they want to watch, because we're not finding anything positive on the news.
Right.
So are you not watching at all right now, or just not watching it with the children?
Good. So we're not watching it with the children. So at 11 o'clock, Pastor and I are watching in our bedroom in the privacy of our own space. And that's honestly to stay abrupt of what everything that's going on, so that we're not left out as, parents and as adults.
Because I do know individuals who are not watching the news at all. Actually, last week I was speaking to a friend, and ironically, he said, "Did you know the malls were closed?" And I was like, "Where have you been?" But he was like, "I don't watch the news at all."
Wow.
And he said, "I go to work and I come home," and he had no clue until last week.
No clue.
And exactly, I was like, "You need to know what's happening."
You gotta stay in the know.
They closed a long time ago, and he was just exactly. He had no clue.
Now, I know this, during the pandemic, because we're at home now, this isn't just for our house, but maybe, ladies, can y'all chime in? What does y'all's budget look like now? Like, what does that really look like during this pandemic?
Budget out the window.
Budget out the window.
And the reason why I say that is because so many times, especially I have a 10-year-old little boy. Well, he's not a little boy, he's a growing boy. So in his head, because he's home, he's supposed to eat all the time. So I'm like, Caleb, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. He's like, okay, Mom. Then in a couple minutes, I'm hungry, I need a snack. So it's just regrouping, because, especially when children were in school, it seemed like they didn't eat all day. The second they got off the bus, they were hungry. So now you have that same thing going on continuously.
Well, all day.
So you're definitely spending more money now than before.
I was almost excited because I had decided I'm not making these Target runs. I'm not doing all of this. I'm gonna save all of this money. And of course, I had a college student come home, so I had to encourage her to eat with her college stomach. But that didn't work. But all the money I thought I would save,
Yeah.
I was spending. Like
Thought you was gonna save it.
Exactly. Like it just went.
Where'd it
I was
go?
going to the grocery store and buying $300 worth of groceries.
Wow.
Yeah, because I got cooked from the country, so we
It's
make
two of y'all.
It's two of us, but she.
$300.
Yeah, easy, easy.
Man.
So we were cooking every day, and I was like, everything I thought I would save was just gone instantly.
Wow, that's something. When we look at this, a lot of things are changing then, not only in the dynamic of the way we do life, but even now how we spend our money. Most of y'all, I'm sure, y'all been shopping online. You probably got the FedEx truck, the UPS truck, the mailman is bringing extra boxes.
I hate when the doorbell rings. I'm like, dang, I was trying to hide that box from Pastor.
Man, so it becomes somewhat I see maybe as an outlet, because we got used to the convenience of being able to go where we wanted and getting what we wanted. But now, kind of as a calming mechanism, we resorted to online shopping. What do you think about that, Makia? What does that look like for you? How has that played out in your house?
So online shopping, it's not, especially grocery shopping, it's difficult because you like to make sure that it's the right size, and you want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth, and then now you're having someone shop for you and then bringing it to your house. So then it gives you an uneasy, you're like, oh, well, make sure you drop it outside. You leave those specific instructions, but just making sure that you have the right groceries. I did try to make a Target run. I did try to make a Target, and I was so nervous. I was ready to go. I called Sister Kentucky. I'm like, listen, I can't do it. I'm a nervous wreck. I can't do it.
I was like, yes, you can. Turn around. Go back.
Exactly.
I'm going with you.
But it's just, so online shopping is really, we've been doing everything. We've been really trying to do everything online because my mother is of that age. She's 76. She would get me if she knew I said that. But she is, so we're very protective of my mother. So we've been trying to do online shopping, but before we even bring it into the house, we're wiping everything down. I mean, it's still a process. So even though we're getting it mailed, we still have to do a disinfecting process before we bring it into the house.
That's imperative, because you don't know where it's been, where they've been, whoever's touching those things. We got to be mindful that it's airborne. We don't know what's in the air. We see the pandemic really taking a big rush in New York, and we've seen this change throughout our economics. We've seen it in the essence of family, as we just mentioned. I know, Makia, just from the outside looking in, because we can't say we know how you feel, but just in this last season, this has been very rough for you and your family as it deals with grief and loss. Can you tell us a little bit maybe about what that looks like?
So on February 27th, my father passed. We buried him literally the first weekend in March. From that moment until last weekend, we have lost 6 people.
Wow.
We've had some people who actually died from the COVID in New York that were very close to us. So it was to a point where I feared answering the phone. You fear hearing the phone ring because you just don't know what's next. Who's next? So you see people calling you from New York, and you're nervous because you realize how serious it is up there.
Very.
So you fear that.
Yeah.
So it becomes, it is really, it's hard to even explain how you feel, because it's just a terrible feeling when you're just losing. It seems like you're losing everyone, and there's literally nothing that you can do.
It's like been one a week.
Yes, sir.
If you look at that average since March, it's been almost one family member. This is not just people that were, acquaintance, but these are people that have been dear and close to your heart.
Yes.
Definitely our prayers go to your family and those connected. But look, this is what we want to bring to the light today, is because some people have not taken this pandemic seriously. We have seen how people are out still just without masks. We see how we're not practicing social distancing. We have observed even in the fact that some people really just don't care, So we urge you, and that's why we're doing this today, because we have to bring awareness to the seriousness of this pandemic and what it could cause. So I just want to ask you also with that, and we've got many different topics to talk about today, y'all. I want you to stay tuned in. Again, if you're just tuning in, write some questions down. We're going to make a moment for that here pretty soon towards the end of the broadcast. But even with this, how are you really coping with this now that you don't get to go anywhere, and now that the grief is in front of your face? What does that pattern look like for you daily?
So daily, I allow myself to feel the emotion. I think the biggest part is not allowing ourselves to feel it. Sometimes we try to avoid it, and I can truly say that in a way with the pandemic, it has been a positive for me. And the reason why I say that is because when my dad passed, I was able to keep going. So I avoided the actual emotion that I was feeling.
Wow.
But now, being in the house, it has caused me to literally think about it, but I'm able to heal from the moment. So now I'm actually healing, because what I realized is that avoidance doesn't bring healing. So when I was avoiding it, I was not healing.
That's
but
powerful.
Now, even though it may hurt at times, I'm still healing.
Somebody needs to type that in the comments. Did you hear that powerful word? Avoiding it does not heal it. And sometimes we don't understand why the Lord allows certain things to happen or why his process is the way it is. But sometimes we got to confront the hard thing. We got to confront the hard thing. You know, we talk about healing and forgiveness being the first step. We got to understand. We got to do the hard thing. We got to take down our little halo, have our little moment, have our little cry, but get ourselves together and go forward. So thank you so much for that. I can only, like I said, I can only imagine. I don't know how you feel, but I can only imagine the pain, the grief, the thoughts, you know, the sleepless nights. How is that working for you with your rest pattern?
It's getting better. I went nights without sleeping. And I remember writing on Facebook, I would continuously write all is well. It'd be like in the middle of the night. And I was trying to do what we're taught to do. We're taught to speak it into existence, because the reality of it, it was not well with me. Right. It wasn't, because that was my dad. I'm a daddy's girl. So that was my dad. And it took me my own personal encounter one morning to be, and I was watching a live, and the preacher said, whatever my lot has taught me to say, it is well. And I remember falling to my knees and crying. And it was at that moment that it became well for me.
Wow.
It became well for me.
And even with that, you declared something and you saw it come to pass.
Yes, sir.
You kept proclaiming something that you haven't possessed yet.
Yes.
You kept saying it is well, or all is well. And sometimes we have to do that. It just, not only through this pandemic, but encouraging ourselves even through this, because a lot of people right now, we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but a lot of people challenge the faith body in this moment and ask, you know, do you not have faith? And we're challenged in that moment because they say, okay, we're so holy. If we believe God to be who he is, why are y'all restricting yourselves to be quarantined? I believe that's a common sense thing. What do y'all think? I don't know.
It's a common sense thing. It's a common sense. I was born and raised in the country, and one thing that my grandma always implemented, that we're going to serve the Lord, we're going to honor the Lord. When we enter into his house, you're going to open up your mouth and you're going to say something. But at the end of the day, God gave us 5 good senses, and she always say, "Precious, I'm gonna need for you to pull them out." So that's a common sense thing right there.
Common sense.
It's not that we don't doubt, you know,
Right.
or we don't not trust. But yeah, but we honestly, let's be real. We have our moments. You know, I love the Lord. I can preach about it. I can testify about it. But at the end of the day, I'm often fear.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
And that's reality.
Yes.
It really is. And it's okay. That's what I want individuals to understand.
Yes.
It is okay to have a moment
That's it.
where you ask
Say that again.
God. It's okay.
They didn't
So
hear you.
ask him.
One more time.
It is okay.
Say it for you too.
It is okay.
Say it for Facebook.
It is okay.
It's okay.
It is okay. Your faith is not diminished because you have a question in the moment.
No.
It is not. It
Amen.
is not. So ask your question, wait on the answer, but keep believing God. Just don't doubt it. I could care less what the situation looks like. And I think sometimes even with media, that's why a lot of individuals were not watching, because I would hear them say, I don't want to hear it no more. I don't want to see it no more. And I'm just like, okay, I just believe God. Okay, but you need to know what's going on outside.
Wow.
You need to know what's going on. You can stay in here shut in if you want to. If you want to. No, but you need to understand what you're praying about.
Understand.
Some things you don't have to necessarily wait for God to reveal to you.
Yeah.
You need to see for yourself and go ahead and
That's
be
it.
in prayer.
Yes.
So
Wow.
that's just where I stand with it.
That's it.
Man, so I want to ask you this one more time, just one more point on this, the grieving part before we move on, Makia. So now that it's in front of your face, now that you have to deal with it, what coping mechanisms, what's the things that you're doing? I want you to just encourage the world today, because somebody out there has just lost a loved one. You know, people are watching us every week all over the world, and in certain areas, this is more major, it's more relevant. But help somebody, help that wife, help that daughter, help that son out there. What are you dealing with, or how are you coping with this?
Definitely keep people around that can encourage you. Because the reality of it is, you will have weak moments, but you want to have that support system that you can text and say, hey, pray for me. Or, hey, what are you doing? You know, do a surprise Zoom call, do a surprise FaceTime. Even from another thing I did was finding music that was soothing to me. I would do certain things like listen to videos. But I had to make sure that the place where I was in for that particular day, I was strong enough to listen to the video. But some days I was stronger than others, so I would want to see my Father's face.
Wow.
But you have to know what consoles you, whether it's your worship music, whatever kind of music. If it's certain YouTube, I know many times I had to go to YouTube videos where they were preaching or anything like that. And don't be afraid to ask for help.
Say that again.
Don't be afraid to ask for
See,
help.
I'm pulling out all these nuggets, and I want you to repeat it one more time. Don't what?
Be afraid to ask for help.
Shh.
Because there were plenty of times where I said, listen, please help me. I'm going down. I was not sleeping. I remember closing my eyes and seeing Dad's face. Or I remember one night I thought I heard his voice. And I remember even to the place where I wasn't remembering good thoughts, but I was remembering the transitional stages that we saw in the hospital. So I remember the moment where his body began to change, and those were the things where I realized it went from a place of peace to a place of torment. And it was at that moment where I had to reach out to people and say, listen, help, please pray for me. You know, times where I would just go sit there with my mother and not say a word, but her presence was giving me comfort through that moment. So just find out what works for you. But those are a couple of things that have worked for me.
Yeah, that's major. And thank you so much for that information. I'm telling you, those of you out there, did y'all hear what she said? She said, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's not because we know everything, or we know all the signals, the signs, the things that, you know, the answers. But sometimes we just got to reduce ourselves and ask somebody, help me. That's very powerful. Thank you so much. Listen, there's been discussions about children and families and that dynamic, how that looks and how that's changed. We've seen how grief takes a toll to people, and listen, there's even a suicide hotline. If you're contemplating the worst, I want to tell you today that's not the answer. That your life is still worth something, and you have a lot to live for. Don't resort to those things. You know, even here at the church, call us 540-204-7422. We'll pray with you. But look, some of you out there, you don't have anybody in the house, and that can be a hard thing too, because you know, not unless you're calling somebody, still it's nothing like physical presence. We have a couple single people here today, but I just want to hear from the single ladies. The ladies say, hey. That means they ain't married. They ain't mean they ain't seeing nobody. I'm just, you know, you're single till you're married. So I ain't auctioning nobody off. But how does that look in the single house? How do you deal with that during this pandemic?
Staying busy.
Staying busy.
Staying very busy. It's a little different for me. My kids in the same situation because our children are there with us. But I do have girlfriends, and they're there by themselves.
Wow.
So just making certain that you're staying connected with individuals. Social distancing does not necessarily mean that you have no communication with individuals.
Yeah.
We just got to go about it a different way and be intentional.
Yeah.
And for me, I've tried to be intentional with those girlfriends who I know who are there by themselves,
Okay.
or who have struggled before being vulnerable to certain situations and going back to old individuals. This is not this is not the hour. This is not the hour. So I've tried to stay in contact with them, just so they don't have too much alone time.
Yes.
And we're staying accountable to each other.
There it is.
That's it. That's good.
Say that.
Accountable to each other.
Yeah. Say that one more time. Accountable to who?
Each other.
Yeah. Because if you're not accountable to anything, then your mind is wandering, trying to figure out
Exactly.
who sees me, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And this is not the time for that. There is something I was reading the other day talking about COVID, Corona couples. That's what it was.
Corona couples.
Corona couples and individuals who were linking up
God.
in the middle of a pandemic. And it was an interesting article to read, but then I began to realize just how dangerous that is.
Yes.
Because what happens in any pandemic or situation like that, we run to get something because we need certain things. We get certain things, and sometimes you end up getting what you actually don't need. For instance, at the beginning of this virus, everybody went and got toilet paper.
Okay.
And they didn't need toilet paper. That's not what you really needed. Exactly. So that's what happens even in dating relationships. You'll go back to something that you really didn't need at all, and you'll bring it in your household because it's familiar. It brings you comfort, And this is not the time for that. You'll end up in a real dangerous situation after this is over.
Dangerous. So all the people that have birthdays in October and December going forward, we know where you came from in Jesus' name. So how do you combat though during this quarantine with that loneliness? Because I know you said you hold yourself accountable with friends and things like that, but there still has to be an inner conversation. What do you say to yourself? I know David said encourage yourself in the Lord, but as a single person, I thank the Lord for 12 years with my wife, so I don't know what single is. It's been a while, but what do y'all do? What do you say to yourself? I know you talk to others, but what do you say to you?
So the thing that I learned about loneliness many times is even when you're in a group of people, you can still feel lonely. So many times what I do is if I find myself feeling lonely, I try to figure out what I'm desiring at that moment. And then when I figure out what I'm desiring, then I'm able to, okay, well, you know what? Let me read a book. Even though I'm desiring companionship, let me kind of read the book, and then now I'm able to prepare for the companionship that I desire. So it's trying, but I had to train myself to get to that place. So it's all about what you're feeding yourself during that moment. If you know that you're lonely, do not go listen to any slow jams, okay? And this is real, because if you're already feeling lonely and you go listen to some slow jams, you really gonna be all confused. Like, all my life I prayed for someone like him and he's gone. I mean, you're dealing with all those kind of things. So know what you're strong enough for. Seriously, do not just accept anything during this moment, because even though you're by yourself, you don't have to be lonely. And so that's my thing. I had to learn. You have to know what you're strong enough for. Ooh. You have to know yourself.
Drop the bomb.
Learn you during this season, because even if you do meet someone, at least you will know who you are. So when it is time that you can meet, you won't be in an identity crisis. You'll actually know who you are and know what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. So that's it.
And even if you're at a point where you're still learning yourself, and we all are to some degree, stay connected to someone who does know you and can call you out.
Listen.
Because you got to have that friend that can check you and say, no, sis, that is not, this is foolishness.
Right.
Because if a situation did not make sense to you before the COVID virus, it does not make sense in the middle of it, certainly. Listen. So this is not the time to kind of keep little situations and little boo things to yourself. I'm not telling you to tell all your business and put it on Facebook. I'm not telling you to do that. But there should be somebody that you should be able to be accountable to, and you should say, hey, this is what's going on. So they can say, this does not make sense at all. Why are you entertaining that conversation with him again? If it didn't make sense before, it does not make sense in the middle of a pandemic.
Becky, you said two powerful things. I heard you. You said, first of all, I have to know what I wanted or what I desire, right? And then I'll just piggyback off what you said when you said knowing who you are, right? So two things you just dropped beyond the pandemic for the single people, right? If you desire something, you got to know first of all what you want. Because if this hasn't taught us anything, this should have taught us we don't have time to waste, right? So, somebody that was well yesterday now just got diagnosed today. And that's how real time has become. That's how relevant time has come to us, that we don't have time to waste. So even with this, I heard something in just candid conversation with you, Riteki. You said something about the time being an investment. What is that?
So even if you are seeing someone, whether you met them in the middle of this pandemic or just before, whatever the situation is, right now is a time of social distancing. So you should be applying that to your lives, you and him. But make certain that you're not getting tricked, that the individual is investing their time into you and not giving their time. Because typically when somebody gives something, they're not looking for anything back. But if I invest something, I need a return on what I'm putting in. Right. So make certain that you understand, even when you're having your conversations, that they're actually concerned about you and just not talking to you.
That's
'cause
good.
Yeah, because a lot of individuals are just bored, and that's no disrespect. We got time on our hands now to some degree. So some people just need, because we already talked about stay connected,
Right.
understand what they're connected for.
What they're connected for.
Because what's going to happen after the virus? I don't need a pen pal. I'm 46 years old. I don't need a pen pal.
Listen.
What are we talking about after the virus?
What are we talking about?
So now is a good time to build your communication, all of that good stuff. We don't, fellas, lean in real quick. If you find somebody right now, you ain't got to spend no whole lot of money because we can't go nowhere, okay? So you can.
Y'all like
really
online
see-
shopping though. I'm speaking for the fellas. Y'all
If
gonna send us a whole bunch of
package comes to the
Amazon
door,
links.
A package just comes to the door. But you don't have to, nobody's expecting you to take them to dinner. It's not reality right now. So now you can see, you can get to the heart of the matter. You can have some real conversations with some individuals.
Save up.
And it does not take long. It does not. I'm telling you, 2 or 3 conversations, you know what you're working with. Get on off the phone and go about your business.
Go about your
Go-
business.
like, I always say, you are not going to waste my unlimited minutes. You are not going to do it.
So should you be open to meet somebody new during this pandemic? Like, you know,
I would, why
Oh,
not?
no.
I would say, I don't see anything wrong with being open to meeting anyone, but
you
don't
meeting
be open to entertaining everyone.
That's it.
so if they came in your DM, you know, and they asked to have a conversation, like, is that how we initialize it during the
Okay, so
pandemic?
that's a whole different topic. Everybody talk, that's a different topic. But listen, everybody, you always say don't slide in a DM.
But
If
the
you
Lord is
don't
my
know that-
shepherd, and I see what I want. So if I'm coming for you, then
Exactly. So a
you
lot
know.
of people are against DMs.
okay.
But if I don't know you and I don't know your number, how's he gonna get in touch with you?
Because I can't
sis?
see you in public though. I can't see you in public.
Exactly.
So I'm scrolling through Facebook and I saw you comment on somebody's thing. I said, "Oh, she looks nice. Well, let me check her out, see what she got going. Oh, she's single. Let me hit her up. So how can I do it? I don't have your number, so I'm gonna slide in your DM.
So that's perfectly okay.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
Just
I
make sure.
think it's okay.
I don't want to be the devil's advocate.
No,
I just want
no,
to.
I know individuals who have gotten married and they met. Somebody came through their DM.
They did? Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, and they're happily
So
married.
fellas, it's okay.
But I would say,
Don't respond to everything.
don't respond to everyone and know
Search
if you're
first.
ready. Okay? Make sure you're ready. Don't just respond just to be
Yeah.
responding.
Yeah, out of
Stuff is something
desperation.
you don't want. Exactly.
Yeah, do not respond out of desperation.
I just had to ask though, because somebody was gonna ask. Like, so how are we supposed to do that? You know, I can't go meet her. I can't. You told me I can't take her on a date. So evidently, I'm scrolling through my social media source to find something.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
you just don't pick up everything. I
Of
mean, if
course,
somebody comes
yeah.
in your DM, please go check them out. And don't be responding all quick, sis.
Take a moment.
Say it
Like,
again.
no.
Say it again.
Leave them on red.
You won't read.
Leave them. Right there.
Don't let us know that you saw the post. Look it on your iWatch. Don't open it on the.
I'll open it in the DM and leave it right there. Respond 4 days later. I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good. That's wonderful. Oh, y'all, this has been wonderful so far, y'all. If y'all enjoying it out there, y'all give us some hearts. Y'all put some thumbs in there. Let us know that you're enjoying this so far. I hope you're enjoying this conversation as we're being open and honest today with you about these serious topics. For those who have even met somebody new during this isolation, I know you talked about earlier, Riteki, about making sure they're truly invested and interested and not bored. How do you really decipher the difference? How would you encourage somebody out there to know the difference between somebody that's just maybe trying to see where it can go, or somebody's just bored, or, you know, how does that sound?
By the conversation, pay attention. If that individual is attentive to you, and not necessarily, hey, how you doing? What's up? Did they ask you about your day? These are just simple things. Did they ask you about your day? Were they concerned about your day? Did they follow up? Did they ask you, did you get home from work okay? All of these things matter. Like, they really honestly do. Somebody who's just bored, I promise you, they're going to come back with a what's up, what you doing?
Right.
WID.
W-
I'm like, what? Does that even mean? No, so you got to pay attention to the conversation.
Yeah.
And if they're investing their time in their conversation, if they're concerned, did they notice on FaceTime that you look tired? Did they bring it to your attention? things like that. Everything matters in this season.
The details matter.
The details matter. If I FaceTime my best friend right now, I can tell something is wrong with her. I'm going to bring that to her attention. Why? Because I care. So the same rules apply. The same rules apply. And if they're bored, I mean, it's just my opinion. We can go on to do something else. So, yeah, we just don't have time in this season. I don't.
Now, we got a couple single people up here, and we're going to keep moving here. I want to ask you just one other thing just on this, because I know we work tightly together. This team does, that you see here today. So if you see me and First Lady or another couple booed up, what does that do to your psyche? You know, what does that look like? You know, because, you know, her feet be cold sometimes, and, you know, all the fellas out there looking on YouTube or Facebook say, hey, because, you know, them feet touch you, you know, it might be cold in the feet, but the heart is warm. You know, everything else. But I just want to know, what does that do for you, single people? What does that, you know, how does it affect you?
Honestly, it depends on the day.
Depends on the day.
Some days you're strong in your singleness, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna wait on God. I'm gonna wait on God. And then there's some days when you're like, God, but I've been waiting a long time. What's going on? So I think it depends on the day. And I've had to learn not to focus on all of that, and just try to find patience.
Yeah.
And try to figure out, okay, Makia, what can you do to be ready? What can you do to be ready? But yeah, it depends on the day, because some days I'm like, oh, I want that. But then some days I'm strong and I'm like, I'm going to wait on you, Lord. So it's all about the day and knowing yourself when you're strong enough to be around. And I know I continuously say that, but you have to know when you're strong enough to really be around a lot of couples. If you find yourself the only single friend around a whole bunch of married couples, granted, yes, you want to learn, but you need to find you some single friends that y'all can feel each other, encourage each other. And then when one gets married, you still want them to be able to salute you and be happy for you. But you want that. You need that. You need that encouragement. Someone who understands what I'm going through, and we know that we can get through it together.
That's powerful.
I think for me, like, it doesn't necessarily bother me. It encourages me.
Okay.
To be around, to be around healthy couples. So it's almost an encouragement. But like she said, you have your days. Sometimes I come home and I'm perfectly fine at home by myself. There are other days I come home and I get sick of fixing one poor child. You know, it's like, I want to sit across the table and look at somebody and watch them eat. You know, so you do. You have those days. So I'm just real. You know.
That's right. I mean,
You know,
That was
thank you. No, that's honest.
Going
That's
to
honesty.
the Chick-fil-A drive-through, you know, I
Yes.
don't want to keep coming home cooking for me, you know.
That's
I'm
honesty.
I learned to cook.
Yeah.
And we came up in a culture, First and I, where it was an honor to be married.
Yeah.
We were taught that, to take care of our husbands and things like that, and take care of our households. So that aspect I do miss, you know, and I'm excited about it happening again. I just have no clue when.
Hey, he's doing it all again. So look, I'm learning a lot today. I really am. And even as a pastor, it's important for us to be versatile in different topics and subjects and things like that. I tell you, I don't see too many people really adhering, though, in this time to self-care. You know, you see so-and-so on a normal day before the pandemic, and even going to the grocery store. I know the ladies, y'all call it having your face beat, you know, whatever that means, and you still got the heels on and all that old other stuff. What does that look like, First Lady? Maybe, you know, what is your encouragement to self-care during this pandemic?
Well, I know for me, when it first started, I had said, don't let the coronavirus catch you looking a hot mess. looking like the virus. You know, don't come out looking like you got the virus. And I had said that because I had to check myself. I literally had been in a bonnet, no makeup, and I was taking a shower, but I was putting pajamas back on. Don't go there, honey. You know, so I was like, and so even the girls were like, Mom, where you going? And I was like, I'm not going anywhere. They was like, why are you getting dressed? Why are you in here putting on your makeup? And I said, well, we've been looking a hot mess all week. Y'all go get some clothes on. We're going to take some pictures. We're just going to go outside for some fresh air. Because, it'll play with your mind. It'll play with your self-esteem.
Come on.
It'll play to make you feel like you're not worthy enough, like you out of place. And so I literally had to, like you guys were saying earlier, you to be like Thevinechurchva. I had to encourage myself and be like, okay, Precious, get up, put some clothes on, put some makeup on, and look like you're going somewhere. Look like you want to do something with your life. Look like you want to be somebody. And I'm not going nowhere, but I wanted to do that for myself. And I found out when I did that for myself, I felt much better.
Right.
I felt much better. So self-care is so important. I've even set boundaries with my kids. I'm doing the best I can with that. Because sometimes C2 still comes in my room, even if my door is shut. I was closing my door and like, this is my time. Y'all stay out there. I'm in here. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm in here. This is me. I'm not doing anything. I'm breathing. I'm breathing. Because I needed a moment. I'm in a house with 3 children and a husband that's a visionary. So he's always like, I got another idea. And I'm like, look, just chill today. Like, let's not do anything. Let's not talk about church. Let's not talk about work. Let's not talk about our parents. Let's not talk about your brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, nobody's uncle and aunt. Like, can we sit here and just be Precious and Cecil and literally like just, be couch potatoes today? But that never happens. Because what's inside of him, he's constantly working. So now what I'm doing, I'm literally going to the car. I started this new thing literally 2 weeks ago. I go to the car. I fix me a cup of coffee. In the middle of the day, typically between 2 and 3 is my time. I go outside. I go sit in my car. For a while, my neighbor, Tabitha, she thought I was crazy. Nothing's wrong. This is my safe place. Like, I'm okay. Because I had to get away. Because if I don't get away and get my time, I'm screaming. I'm raising my voice because I'm over it. Everybody just setting up because everybody's got on my nerves. Cecil, leave me alone, and husband can be there and not done anything to me because I have not had a moment to breathe. Your frustration, you go off on everybody. So typically when you're upset, it's the closest people to you that you take it off on. You don't mean to, but I have not had my time.
So do you set that time or allot that time for everybody in the household to have their own little space?
No, I set that time for me. I don't care what the kids and what daddy is doing. When I go outside, your kids are in here. I'm outside.
So do the kids get their own little time? Like, Paris is old enough now where she can...
Yeah, Paris does her own thing.
Okay.
Like, Paris is really easy. Yeah. Like, she goes in her room or she come out. Paris cook. Paris is easy maintenance for the most part. But it's C2 and it's Chloe. It's the younger kids that wants the attention. And even last week, I went outside to my space. Chloe and C2 comes outside. And I didn't see them come out because I had put my coffee in the cup holder of my car, and I had literally took my head and just like was just relaxing my head, just taking a deep breather, and I was listening to some music. And I heard the door open. I jumped up and I looked, and it was C2 and it was Chloe. And I was like, "Where's y'all's daddy? In the house? Well, why is y'all out here?" So it's still hard to get your time, but it's important. It's really important for you to break away and get your times. If I could say one thing to the fathers, listen, take the kids away from the moms, load them up in the car, and just ride around the neighborhood. Ride to Walmart, make a complete circle in Valley View parking lot, and then ride back home. That's probably about a good 25 to 30 minutes, and let your wife have a moment.
Kids were going for a ride.
You'll thank me. You'll be like, you know what, Precious was right. You'll thank me because you'll get back home and, your wife might do something different for you. She might even give you a massage,
Look, we're driving to Florida, kids. We'll be back. We'll be back. 12 hours, one way. We'll be back. That's powerful though. I'm really enjoying this because all the real stuff is coming out in Jesus' name.
It's gonna help our marriage too, y'all.
Glory to His name. I want to ask just some more feedback from the rest of you today. Just what does self-care look like? I know She just told you pretty much from the married standpoint. And I know, again, some of you might not think that people are watching you, but I want to tell you, people still view, they still see you. What does that look like in the single house? What does self-care look like?
For me, because I'm still working, actually, and I'm thankful for that, but my workload doubled as a result of the pandemic. So I went from do a 6 to 8 hour day, and then I'll sneak out to I was in there for 14 hours. So I had to come home, and of course I have my college daughter that's home now. So trying to still maintain your house, because you still got to clean and all this stuff has to be done. You're trying to allot time for her. I want to see how her day is going, how her classes are going.
Right.
So I had to start making time for me.
Yeah.
Whether it was to take a hot bath, or like you said, to go in my bedroom and shut the door and, Denaja, I love you, but I don't want to see the TikTok that you made. Not right now, honey.
The what?
The TikTok.
The TikTok. Tic-tac?
She makes hundreds of them a day. So it was just like I had to come home and make that time for me, whether it was just to sit at the foot of my bed and gather my thoughts, or sit in the car before I came in the house. I had to do that because I found out very quickly as this pandemic came along and my work schedule increased, my eating habits changed. I went from 2 to 3 Pepsis a day, which is still a lot, till one day I drank 7 in one day, and that had become my norm because I was working all day. I was coming home. I was still trying to finish work. Then I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be back at the office. So it was never ending. My blood pressure increased. I never had an issue with my blood pressure. I was having constant headaches. So I had to take a moment. I was like, I'm not going to die in the pandemic. I have no intention of getting the virus, but I'm not going to die of anything else over in the middle of this. So I had to have a real life talk with myself just last week to create some boundaries, even in my household, for myself. And, just establishing, Riteka, you have to take this moment. Riteka, you have to say no. You have to eat healthy. You have to do these things. It's not an option.
That's something you got to do to yourself. Let me hear from you, Micaiah. What was your routine?
Well, for me, Caleb is 10, so he now knows me. He's like, Mom, you need a moment? I'm like, yes, son, I need a moment. So many times I'll go in a room, be quiet. Sometimes I will not even answer my phone because sometimes when you really just need that moment, answering your phone can take from that moment. So it's just, and I'll also get into the car, take a little ride, where I can actually think. I had to learn how to not look at the news because I realized for me, if I'm taking my moment and I'm looking at the news, it was causing me to panic. So now the moment that I was having now, I'm more anxious and I'm like, oh my goodness, and I'm starting to worry. So during that moment, it's better for me just to turn everything off and really take time and just be still.
Yeah, and that's that end part alone. Take time and be. Sometimes when we're moving so much, we're doing so much, it takes away from the focus of what we should be doing. Because, again, like I said, people are always watching. And, people going live looking any kind of way. they get up and they only got a T-shirt on and no pants, But, that one time your camera slipped, and you're like, oh, Lord, glory to his name. So it's important that we take practices with self-care, making sure that even during this, I find the value in you. Look in the mirror and tell yourself, who am I? Or, tell yourself those qualities of who you are. It's been wonderful, y'all. Those of you, I know some of you are just tuning in. Again, I'm encouraging you, if you've had questions, if you've had things during this conversation to come up and saying, I would love to know more about such and such or whatever like that, I want you to write those things down. I'm going to ask you to put those in the comments just here in a few moments. And I'm going to ask those questions out loud just in a few seconds so that these wonderful people that are here with me today can answer those questions. So, look, I know churches change, or we've changed, our family dynamic, economics has changed. What do y'all think about the church right now in this era that we're in with having to do it in this platform? There's, we're abiding by the regulations of attendance, but also in that, what does this do for you not being able to physically gather?
the part of not being able to gather, there's strength. And I said, it's so funny because you really never appreciate something until it's missing. So where we could be together on Sunday and go to dinner afterwards, we don't have that option. Where you want to see each other, you've had a long week and you want to hug and you can't embrace, and you really need that hug. So those are some adjustments. But in regards to the church, I'm so proud of the church in general, because I believe that this has happened so fast, and churches are adapting. And I know for our own church, it's just a blessing to be able to sit with your family and be able to see the people that you worship with and see them singing and seeing you, Pastor, and first, and being able to see you all minister. I think it's awesome, and it has helped the transition because there is no lack in that area.
Awesome. What do y'all think, ladies?
I know for me, it's been hard. I'm a hugger. Yeah, I'm a hugger. And I'm a hugger because I know hugging heals. And there's many of us, including myself, that's been broken, that when you embrace someone, it helps heal whatever that you're going through.
Wow, that would speak to my kid right now, because I know the grief that she's had and all these. So how has it been during those grieving moments, the funerals and all this, like not being able to hug? What does that look like?
It is so awkward. It's amazing. From when my father had his service, we were able to hug. We were able to have as many people. But for my grandmother's service, we had a graveside. So you see, we couldn't have a large amount of people. So when you see each other, you're literally like hitting elbows, where usually you would hug and console. Even to the point of the wake, you couldn't have more than 10 people. So instead of usually how the children stay, many of the children had to leave so others could come. So it's just so different actually experiencing that now.
Even this morning, we had gathered First Lady and Mikey and I just to pray. And automatically when we go to pray, you typically hold hands. And Mikey was like, we can't hold hands. And like, I just had this moment. I was just staring. And I wanted to cry, but it was like, don't cry, Rebecca, not right now. But it's those things, I think, that have really touched my heart. Like First said, hugging. Last week when I saw my kid, we typically embrace, and we were just standing there very awkwardly, just staring at each other for a moment. So those changes, yeah, they're difficult to even talk about now.
So do y'all think it'll ever be what we were? So, from this moment now, where everybody walks around and looks at you like you're a big germ, when does it become okay to embrace? Will it be okay for you to shake a hand again, to any of those things? We're now at elbow bumps, foot taps, toe taps, but as long as we're not touching their hands, as long as we're not embracing, what do y'all think about that?
I know for me, I hope that that's not the case. I hope one day that we will be able to gather again, because even for me personally, I know today when I came in, today has been my first time here at the church. I've been here when no one else was here with Pastor and the kids and I, but with the team and everybody. Today was my first time actually coming into the presence of even the people, and it was hard. Because I'm a hugger and I love people. So even when I came in and immediately I went straight upstairs. And I didn't go upstairs because I wasn't prepared or ready or dressed. I went upstairs because I was trying to avoid the fact of even saying hello. Because typically when I see them, I hug them. It's not really many words. I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger. Anybody that knows me know that I'm a hugger. And so finally I got myself together, and I came back down. And even as I came back down, I yelled to the praise team, and I was like, oh my God, good to see y'all. Virtual hugs, because, you can't hug. So even for me, with just hugging in general and being able to heal with everything that's going on, it would have been so good to hug, because even today a hug would have healed some of the things that we've been battling with, some of the things that we've been going through. And you can look at me and say I may have it all together or picture perfect, but even on social media I try to be as transparent as I can, because although I may be married to a great man, I may have beautiful children, and everybody in my household is healthy. But that doesn't mean I don't struggle with my own battles. That doesn't mean I don't struggle with my own insecurities. That doesn't mean I don't struggle with am I even at this point with the pandemic going on? Have I been creative enough as a mother and a wife to keep my children even in tune? To keep my children even with their education? Like, am I equipped enough to homeschool my children? Like, it hits hard. And I promise you, I don't mean to cry, but it's just real. At the end of the day, I'm a hugger. So I pray and I hope to God, I plead, God, that this is not what the world is coming to. Because even for me raising children, my children even need to be hugged. Not just from me, but from everybody that's a part of the village of raising them. Because when I can't get through to Paris, there's her Aunt Alicia, there's Reteki, there's Makia, there's Renee. There's multiple people that can get through to her when I can't. So we need each other. And I haven't even seen my mom. I see her through FaceTime, we Zoom. I see my dad once because my dad came and dropped some stuff off. But even when I seen him, he dropped it off and got back in the truck. And I'm very close with my parents. I'm so close with them. So even with my mom losing her sister just about a month and a half to 2 months ago, when I thought my mom was healing because she had started going back to work physically and not really working from home, now that this happened, she can't even really get out of the house like she needs to keep herself busy or to keep herself occupied, or for even me or my brother to be there to hug her and embrace her. So it just all plays a part.
And that's why it's so important to stay connected, to reach out. It does not take long. Send a text, FaceTime, call somebody. It doesn't take long because you never know what they're going through. And we're all experiencing this at the exact same time. So it's important. Take a moment out of your day. I don't care how your day is going. Take a moment to reach out and just say, hey, how you doing? Was thinking about you. It doesn't have to be a long, lengthy conversation, but we need each other.
Yes.
And we are all that we have.
Right.
So it is imperative. Don't just reach out to the ones that you talk to all the time. Right. But the ones that you haven't talked to in a while, and even the ones that you need to get something right with. Don't come out of this with bitterness. And when I say this, I'm talking to myself. Don't come out of this bitter. Don't come out of this angry with anybody that you were before this happened. Fix it while we're in it. Yeah. Reach out to somebody. Love on them. We are all that we have right now.
We're all that we have. And even with healing, as Reteki was saying, even with healing, reach out to them and make things right. But even with making things right, it's a process to the healing. Yes. So conversations. And although you may not be able to sit in the same room and have a conversation with them, that's why the Lord implemented Zoom.
Yeah. Communication. I appreciate all that feedback. This is definitely something that no one has a manual for. We have never been here before, so we don't really know how to really handle these things. There's some practical things that I believe all of us should practice. And I'm going to ask this last question for all of us to answer. And then all of those of you who have stayed tuned in, I want to thank you again. Get ready to ask those questions even now. You can start putting those in the chat. And we want to get those questions. But before we do that, I just want to ask this question to those of you who are here with me today. Do you believe fear has overtaken our society, in your opinion? So that's why I was asking earlier, you think it's lack of faith, or you think it's overcome by fear? Or, fear has overcome us, rather?
I don't think necessarily it's a lack of faith. Everyone doesn't have faith. So we have to understand that. But I think society as a whole, I have great faith. I believe God for crazy things because I've seen crazy things happen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that I haven't walked in Kroger and I've chosen to stand back and look at somebody, or somebody has coughed and I gave them the side eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's happened.
Yeah.
Or I've coughed and I'm like, oh my God, like, what are they
Now I'm
thinking about
diseased.
me? Yeah, exactly. Everybody's looking at me now. When it's a natural part of life. So sadly, I do believe fear has overtaken our society.
Definitely. And just when you were saying that, made me think about, I was in Sam's Club the other day, and immediately I'm like moving side to side, because you realize that some people are not abiding by the 6 feet.
At all?
So at all. So then you're trying to like move, you're trying to maneuver. Really, you're anxious, you're panicking, you have all these different emotions. So the reality, unfortunately, is yes, we are fearful. And it's like now you're just like, okay, God, just cover me when I go into the store. Help me not to look at people, because Sister Riteki, she said something to me the other day, because I was like, oh my gosh, they don't have any masks on. I was just thinking all these things, and she said, Makia, do not be like that. She said, because you don't know how they may feel feeling ostracized. And immediately when she said that to me, it made me think, don't treat them like that. So then it's helping me to be in the store and be okay. Not that I want to be close to you, but I'm not going to treat you like you're the disease. That you have to be ostracized. Because really, what we don't realize is that in the store, for them, might be the only time that they see people. So you may not talk to them, but your presence is helping them.
Yes. Mom Carr said there's a certain amount of fear that we all experience, but that doesn't mean that we lack faith. I believe at the end of the day, the realisticness of this, and love you, mother, love, that all of us still at the end of the day have a humanistic stance when it comes to this. It doesn't mean that we don't believe God. It doesn't mean that we doubt God in any factor of our lives. But realistically, being precautious doesn't mean there's an absence of faith.
Right.
Say it again. Being precautious, I want to encourage you, those of you who are out there today, being precautious isn't a lack of faith. It's knowing the things that are confronted with us and knowing how to handle those things as they appear. Even the Bible speaks to this. It says that you shall mount up with wings as eagles. You shall run and not be weary, walk and not faint. Okay, if he gave me wings, that means I'm going to go to the nearest bridge and tell everybody like R. Kelly that I can fly? No, that's common sense. If I'm running like Forrest Gump, does that mean I'm never going to get fatigued? No, because anything that keeps running for a long time eventually wears out. Walk and not faint. Okay, yes, I'm still moving, but even somebody that's walking that might not have the ability to run as fast as you is still going to get fatigued. The problem is not in getting weary. The problem is in giving up. Giving up. And even though faith might be tested, one thing I've learned about faith is faith that is not tested isn't faith at all. But if God can't prove something to you, that's the factor right now where we don't understand how we can believe God if he's not trying us, if he's not proving himself to us to be a protector, to be a healer. Because everybody, and our prayers and our thoughts go out to everyone who's lost family members due to this pandemic. But we have great news that everybody that's had the pandemic virus has not died. Many have recovered. So that's still something that we can give glory and praise to God about, that he's still a sustainer, that he's still a healer, and that he's still a keeper. Those of you who are out there, I've seen some questions come in, and we want to ask some of those questions today. Those of you who are still tuned in with us, thank you again so much for tuning in. I have a question here from Mr. Justin Hash. It says, should singles learn their love language during this time? Who would like to plug in on that question? Should singles learn their love language? I think everybody, but should everybody learn their love language during this pandemic?
Yes, if you don't already know it yet, now would be the time. So that when this is over and the Lord sends you who it is that he has designed for you, you already know that and you understand that. So there are several books that you can read in regards to that, but now would be a great time. And that's a part of self-help and self-care. So yeah, you definitely want to know that.
I just want to plug in on that.
Definitely. Don't miss the moment. I believe that this opportunity is going to give us time to really learn ourselves. And once we learn ourselves, again, we're able to receive what we desire.
What do you think first, lady?
I agree. Wholeheartedly take this time to learn you.
Yes. So what advice would you give somebody during this time that maybe just uncertain even about the economical standpoint, the actual relationships? What closing nuggets maybe can y'all give just to sum this all up in just a brief synopsis? What would you say to that person that's still viewing and listening today? Any standpoint, from economics to relationships to whatever we talked about today, and just a recap, what would be your last statements that maybe you could give to somebody and encouraging them today?
You can make it, and you can get through it. You can get through this season. I know that it's hard when you do not see, you don't know what's next, but just have faith to know that what's next is going to be okay. So you're going to be okay. Don't be so focused on what you see right in front of your face, because if you're not careful, what you see is temporary. So we just hold on, no matter what, hold on. We're going to get through this.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say stick with God. And whatever your dreams were at the beginning of 2020, continue to implement those. Continue to fix your credit. Continue to pay off your debt. Continue to write out the house that you want, how many bedrooms you want, the car that you desire, the new career, going back to school. Continue to work on those things so that when we come out of the pandemic, you never lost.
Never lost.
I would piggyback off of what both of them have said. Stick with God, and do not forget your goals. I know a lot of people, they're saying during this time, you need to be writing a book, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. And that's great for those of you who God has laid that on your heart, and this is the time. For some of us, we just want to come out with our right mind.
Yeah.
For some individuals, they're battling depression before this ever happened, so I don't even know what it's like now. It's okay to just make it out. Just be determined to get out. Just be determined to get out. Hang on to God. He said one thing to me in the middle of this: I'm here and I'm real. I'm here and I'm real. Hang on to him and just come out.
Yes. Thank you so much. Those of you who are listening, those of you who are viewing today, just put in the comments something to encourage these wonderful women of God today. I want to say personally to all of you, thank you so much for all of this wonderful intel on today that you've given us. We've been encouraged how to deal with grief during this pandemic, as many don't know the day nor the hour that the Lord shall come again. We've dealt with the fact of marriages, children, the uncertainties of what that looks like, and social distancing. We've heard about singles and how to deal with those things, how to self-care, and how to make investments of time to make sure it's not a waste of time. Again, thank you to all of you that are with me today. Those of you who are viewing still out there today, I want to give you just a few moments. If you can, please do two things for me before we go today. I want you to, first of all, I want you to begin praying wherever you are, because the Lord hears the cries of his people. Songwriter penned it perfectly when he said he would hear our faintest cry and he would answer by and by. Just a little talk with Jesus will make everything all right. I want to just encourage you, first of all, don't be selfish. Don't just pray for you, but pray for the world at large. Pray for the world at large. Second thing I want you to do today, I want you to do this at this time. Those of you who are viewing today, I know some of you are still with us. Thank you again for staying with us. I want you to consider sowing into this moment today. We're getting ready to pray for you all over the world just in a few seconds. But before we leave today, I want you to consider sowing today and those options are on the screen for you to do so. If you want to sow via CashApp, you can do that. If this intel, if this product has been a blessing to you, consider sowing into us today, sowing to the ministry, sowing into the kingdom today. This $ Thevinechurchva. You can also give on our mobile app, which is free to you on Google or Apple platforms. The last platform you can give on is also our website, located at www.thevinechurchva.org. Whatever the Lord puts on your heart to sow today, I guarantee you the seed will be blessed. Those of you who are viewing today, just stretch your hand towards the screen. There's no distance in prayer. We're going to pray with you today and pray for you, believing God that what things that you're dealing with right now, some things you've been dealing with in silence, but God wants to bring it to the open, not to expose you. But today he wants to deal with that hard thing that you're not willing to deal with. He wants to help you recover from that thing that you've been looking at and said, God, I don't know how much more of this I can take. Some of you have had crazy thoughts. The enemy's playing with your mind. But I want to remind you today, the Bible says he will keep you, me, us, in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him. He's not called us to anything to drop us in it. But everything we're going in is going through a process to bring us out of it. And until we come out of it, hallelujah, God can't get the glory out of the situation. So wherever you are, just stretch your hands toward the screen. Father, in Jesus' name, God, we believe, God, that your word cannot return void. God, you said above all things that you wish that you would prosper, be in good health, even as our soul is prosper. God, I denounce, God, the hand of the enemy, but now, God, I proclaim, God, that your blood covers every crevice. God, your blood covers every home today. Your blood covers every relationship. Your blood covers every child today. God, those things, God, that we don't know the answers for. God, we praise you, God, that you still are the answer for the world today. Above you, there's no other. God, we know today, but help somebody else to know that you are still the way. You are the truth and you are the light. God, in the midst of a dark situation, in the midst of dark times, God, I praise you today, God, that what you're doing right now in this season, God, is bringing faith back to the church. You're bringing faith back to the believers. For you said, God, we shall walk by faith and not by sight. God, we can't see the virus, God, but we know, God, that the virus is real. But most of all, God, we can't see you with our physical eyes, but we know right now that you are real. God, you've healed before, you're able to do it again. You've delivered before, you're able to do it again. You've mended before, and you're able to do it again, because you, God, are the same God yesterday, today, and forever. So right now, God, just be whatever you need to be to every person's situation. In Jesus' name, amen. Those of you who are viewing today, I invite you again to share this. If you haven't, give us some hearts, give us some likes. Listen, it is our privilege to just be able to come into your homes wherever you're listening right now. We invite you to tune in with us again on next week. Guess what? This weekend is Mother's Day. So in advance, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Look, you're doing a great job. Don't doubt yourself. Don't beat yourself up. I know some of you are married, some of you are single. You're doing it all by yourself. But from my heart to your heart, I want to tell you that you're doing a great job, and keep going. So listen, before we go today, again, thank you to all of you that are here with me today. Thank you to everybody who's worked the media today. God bless you. God keep you in perfect peace until we meet again. Go with God, and he'll go with you.